It's the 22nd of August. Henry Tudor defeats Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth. On the 30th of October, Henry VII was crowned at Westminster Abbey. In the January of 1486, Henry VII marries Elizabeth of York, uniting the two houses, and thus the Wars of the Roses ends. On the 17th of June at the Battle of Stoke, Henry VII defeats a pretender to his throne. John Cabot sailed from Bristol aboard the Matthew and discovered North America. John Cabot was an Italian navigator and explorer. His 1497 voyage to the coast of North America under the commission of Henry VII, King of England, is the earliest known European exploration of coastal North America. On the 2nd of April, Arthur, Prince of Wales, dies, leaving his widow, Catherine of Aragon. Now with the heir to the throne dead, the 11-year-old Henry, Duke of York, became first in line to the throne. On the 8th of August, James IV of Scotland marries Margaret, daughter of Henry VII of England. Although this meant peace between the two countries, the marriage also gives James IV's descendants a claim to the English throne. Henry VII died on the 21st of April 1509, and his younger son Henry VIII became king. Shortly after ascending the throne, on the 11th of June 1509, Henry VIII married Catherine of Aragon, who had previously been married to his older brother, Arthur, Prince of Wales. Their marriage was a key political alliance between England and Spain, but it later became infamous when Henry sought to annul it, leading to the English Reformation. On the 9th of September, while Henry VIII's forces were campaigning against the French king Louis VII, James IV of Scotland invaded England. James is defeated and killed at the Battle of Flodden Field. Thomas Wolsey is made papal legate, making him effectively the head of the English Church. This made him the most powerful man in England after the king. In the June of 1551, Henry VIII meets Francis I of France at the Field of the Cloth of Gold. The first meeting of Henry VIII and Francis I of France took place just outside the English-held town of Guisnes near Calais, France. On the 17th of October, the Pope grants Henry VIII the title Defender of the Faith. Pope Leo X conferred the title on Henry for his book Assertio Septem Sacramentorum, Defense of the Seven Sacraments, which affirmed the supremacy of the Pope. Henry VIII appeals to the Pope to annul his marriage so that he could marry Anne Boleyn instead. The year is 1530, and Thomas Wolsey, unable to arrange the king's divorce from Catherine of Aragon, was stripped of his offices and died on his way to face charges of treason. In the January of 1533, Henry VIII commands the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Cranmer, to declare the marriage to Catherine of Aragon void on the grounds that the union was illegitimate because Catherine was his brother's widow. On the 25th of January, Henry VIII marries Anne Boleyn, following divorce from Catherine of Aragon. In the September, Anne Boleyn gives birth to Elizabeth. In the November of 1534, Act of Supremacy makes Henry head of the English Church. Henry VIII formed the Church of England, separating England from the Roman Catholic Church. Henry himself was never a Protestant, but the break with Rome was a huge encouragement to Protestants in England. On the 6th of July, 1535, Sir Thomas More, the former Lord Chancellor of England and a renowned humanist scholar, was executed for treason after refusing to acknowledge Anne Boleyn's daughter Elizabeth as the rightful heir to the throne and to swear allegiance to the Act of Succession. This act was passed in 1534 and declared Elizabeth the legitimate heir, solidifying her position after Anne's marriage to Henry VIII. More's refusal to accept this act was rooted in his staunch Catholic beliefs and his loyalty to the Pope, Clement VII, rather than to the king. Act of Union joined England and Wales. The laws in Wales, Acts of 1535 and 1542, attempted to regularise the relationship between the two nations by introducing the English legal system in Wales. English became the official language of administration. The destruction or closure of some 560 monasteries and religious houses takes place between the years of 1536 and 1540. Henry VIII had Anne Boleyn investigated for high treason in the April of 1536. On the 2nd of May, she was arrested and sent to the Tower of London, where she was tried before a jury, including Henry Percy, her former betrothed, and her uncle Thomas Howard, 3rd Duke of Norfolk. She was convicted on the 15th of May and beheaded 4 days later. Historians view the charges, which included adultery, incest with her brother George, and plotting to kill the king, as unconvincing to say the least. 11 days after the execution of his second wife, Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII marries Jane Seymour. On the 4th of August, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Cranmer, receives the first Bible in English. On the 12th of October, 1537, a male heir, Edward, is born to Henry VIII and Jane Seymour. Henry was shattered by her death shortly after Edward's birth. Henry VIII changes his title from Lord of Ireland to King of Ireland. The change in Henry VIII's title from Lord of Ireland to King of Ireland in 1541 was a significant moment in the history of English-Irish relations. It marked a shift in Henry's approach to Ireland, consolidating his control over the island and asserting English authority in a way that was more direct and assertive than ever before. Mary, Queen of Scots, laid claim to the English throne. Mary, born in 1542, was the daughter of James V of Scotland and Mary of Guise, and her bloodline tied her directly to the Tudor dynasty. Through her grandmother, Margaret Tudor, who was the sister of Henry VIII, Mary was a great-granddaughter of Henry VII and a cousin to Elizabeth I. On the 28th of January, Henry VIII dies and is succeeded by 9-year-old Edward VI. On the 6th of July, Edward VI dies and is succeeded by Lady Jane Grey. 4 days after Edward died, Jane was proclaimed Queen, but widespread popular support for Mary ensured her reign lasted only a matter of days. On the 19th of July, Mary I, daughter of Henry VIII, and Catherine of Aragon, becomes Queen. Mary was the first woman to be crowned monarch of England in her own right. A devout Catholic, she was determined to halt the growth of Protestantism initiated by her father and return England to Roman Catholicism. On the 25th of July, Mary marries Philip of Spain despite there being widespread opposition. On the 21st of March, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Cranmer, is burnt alive for heresy. Thomas Cranmer, who had approved the divorce of Henry VIII from Mary's mother, Catherine of Aragon, went to the stake the following March. On the 7th of January 1558, it's a sad day for England. England's last French possession, Calais, is lost. On the 17th of November, Mary dies and Elizabeth I ascends to the throne. On the 24th of June 1559, the Book of Common Prayer became the only legal form of worship in England, with the passage of the Act of Uniformity. This was a major step in the English Reformation and represented a significant move away from Catholic traditions toward a more Protestant form of worship. The introduction of the Book of Common Prayer had profound religious, cultural, and political consequences for England. In the year 1570, Sir Francis Drake set sails for his first voyage to the West Indies. Then, on the 15th of November, 1577, Sir Francis Drake set sails in his flagship Pelican, soon renamed Golden Hind, to circumnavigate the world. 2 years later, on the 26th of September 1580, Francis Drake arrives at Plymouth after circumnavigating the world. On the 8th of February, 1587, Mary Stuart, Mary I of Scotland, is executed when found guilty of treason to kill Elizabeth. The year is 1588, and the English defeat the Spanish Armada at the Battle of Gravelines. In 1591, it is believed to be the first performance of a play by William Shakespeare. 1600, the first British involvement in the Indian continent. East India Company formed. Population of Britain just over 4 million.